This chintzy plastic napkin holder has been an eyesore in my kitchen for far too long. Now I'm going to do something about it. It's typical of a project like this. I made a few sketches and took some measurements, did some research to find out about the shape. Went to look for suitable wood. I found this old chopping block of teak. That's a possibility. I've got maple. I think I might make more than one. I've got a piece of scrap wood that's for the base that'll work just fine. I don't know what it is. Probably from China. I also made a prototype trying to get a feel for how tall does it have to be to hold, to hold several napkins. And what I decided was it needed to be a little bit bigger than I thought. The napkin size is 6.5 by 5 3/4, so a long ways this way. This area in here, you can vary it. I decided to make mine about 1.5 inches. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's go to the bandsaw and cut out a block. Now I want the center block to be about 1/4 inch short on each side, so it won't show. So this is right at 7 inches, so I'll make this block about 6.5. We're going to put on this threaded glue block. I did a video on this some time back. I guess you call it a threaded faceplate, but I don't know that I've used it but a couple of times since I made that video. But this is going to work out just great for this. All I've got to do is put on a couple of pieces of Woodturner's double stick tape. Not just any tape, not carpet tape, but some really good stuff. Just going to put one on each side. Take off the backing. I cut up an old platter blank to use initially for this project, and that part is what I'm going to be using to show you how I mount this using the double-sided stick tape. I guess we can call this napkin holder 1.0. Dead center. And now I'm going to take this off. And I can just visually sight down it, and that's probably close enough. But sometime back, I turned this taper to fit this 1 1/4 inch hole, drilled a hole down the middle, have this pin in it, so I can use this to actually sight down it. Let's turn it around the right direction here. Put that pin on the mark, and put this down in there. I put a block of wood in here, and I just brought the quill up against it to give it some strength while it sets up for about 10 minutes. I'm going to reuse this tape because it ought to still be in good shape. And I not already had that tape mounted. It was good for a second one. I would have otherwise used this shop-made screw chuck to mount the blank. So I got to true up the edges. There's two ways to do that. This is the worst way because if you come in here and try to true up like this, you're going to pick up that end grain coming this way every time it comes around on this side and then this side. So let me show you a better way to deal with that. Get the speed up to 1,000 or so, 1,200. Well within a safe range. This is good, well balanced. So I'm just going to come down here. And I can tell I've still got a ragged edge, so I've got to back up a little bit more, maybe 1/4 inch. Rounding this edge over slightly. I want to round over this corner on the back side, so to do that I got to come in from this direction. so I don't have a bunch of tear out. It's going to be a side the napkin's going to touch and go in, so I want a little bit of an opening here. Just a very slight round over. And then that edge there, I might want to round that over just a little bit. A little scraping action. Okay, now I've got to decide what other profile I want to put on it. Now, because this board is an inch thick, and I don't want it that thick, I want it no more than 3/4 inch. I'm going to take it down some, but before I do that, I'm just going to surface this a little bit, and then I want to show you some other decorating techniques you could do. You're just going to take a pull cut and get some of this finish off, make sure I've got an even surface. Okay. So one of the things you could do is put a textured band in there if you like. That suits your fancy. I'm not actually going to do, I'm going to demonstrate that on this one, but I'm not going to put it on this design because I've got these laminated blocks and I think they kind of conflict with each other. But you know, you could certainly slow the speed down, come in here and decide you want to have a bit of a spiral in here. Of course, anytime you do texturing, you want to come in and frame it. That's not deep enough. Let me see if I can pick it up again. And that looks a little better. And then, like I say, to frame it, you'd come in here with a point tool or the point of a skew and just put some little boundary on it. Let me see where that boundary is. Mark it with a pencil. The texture coming around, but I can certainly see the pencil mark. So you want to come in there and like I say, just put a little bit of a boundary. Get the speed up a little bit. Put a little V groove in there, or you might actually want to make a bead. You know, how you decorate it is certainly up to you. But I'm going to make all that disappear because this blank is way too thick to begin with. I'll come back and deal with the middle after I remove tailstock support. And I think what I want to do is put some contours in there. So let me look at it, think about where I want to do it. I think I might want to put a cove here, but kind of a button there. If I got a cove here, I think maybe I want to put maybe a bead right there. So let's start with that bead. I can do that with a spindle gouge, or I could do that with a beading tool, but I'm going to use a spindle gouge. And rather than round it over, I think I want to make a cove here, so I want to come back to the bowl gouge and cove this in a little bit. Maybe make kind of an OG here actually. Round it out. And then, yeah, I like that profile. Just got to smooth it up a little bit. Now for the other part of the bead, come in here with spindle gouge and roll this bead over. And I think I said I was going to make a cove here. Let's go back to the bowl gouge. These are just the ideas. You can come up with whatever you think make it look good for you. Come in from that side. Come in from this side. I think I just want to use a little bit of a point right here for detail. Okay. Bump it here in the middle. I like that profile. Like I say, you can texture in here with any number of texturing tools. You could do some painting, you could do some dyeing, Lots of different techniques. Now I'm going to sand it. Okay, let's take it off the glue block, go over to the bandsaw and cut it off. I've got a little chamfer on the glue block, which makes it fairly easy for me to get in here with a chisel. Take a mallet, it's kind of ingrained, so it looks like it. Separate any of these laminations and then just slowly pull it back, slowly. You can see, even though this tape had been used on an earlier one, it's still plenty strong. Okay, now this was previously pre-finished. I want to go ahead, I think, and probably sand this a little bit on a belt sander, and then we'll go with the bandsaw. All right, let's talk design considerations. We're going to set aside this first one for a second. Here's this piece of shit one, plastic one I got out of the kitchen, and in terms of the dimensions, it sticks up 4 and 3/4 inches. You want it high enough where this is not going to flop around too much when you have to take some of these things out or use them up. So for this one, it's a little bit shorter than that, so it flops around just a little bit once you start taking some out, which I don't much care for. So how do you solve that? Well, you can make your diameter of this a little bit larger, so when you go down the center, it sticks up a little bit more. The other possibility, which is what I'm going to do on this one, instead of cutting right through the middle, I'm going to lower it a little bit and have a shorter section in the front and a bigger section in the back. I'm also, instead of being 1 3/4 here, I'm making it just a little bit, maybe an eighth of an inch smaller. So let's go to the bandsaw and cut this. So this is a bit of a coarse cut. What I'm going to do is, after I glue it up, I'll push this up against a belt sander to get this bottom smooth on both sides. As I may have mentioned, this middle piece is about 1 5/8 to 1 3/4 inches wide, and it's about 1/4 of an inch short on each side, so it doesn't show, so this conceals it. And now it's time to glue it up. I'm using some new glue I haven't done before, but it comes highly recommended by a number of woodworking friends. It's called Tight Bond Quick and Thick, and it's 2 times faster and 3 times thicker. So let's do that. So I'm just going to put a little bit of a bead here, and a little bit of a bead here, a little bit here, and a little bit on this side. Since I'm going to put this here, and I'm assuming this is going to be a little bit like Tight Bond, that if I rub it a little bit, I'll get a bit of a friction clamp. And the same thing with this one. Just move it back and forth a little bit. And now I'm going to go ahead and use some clamps to get it, tapping this down flat. Tapping these down flat. And we're just going to let that dry. If you enjoyed this video, check out the playlist on other kitchen related projects. I hope this video inspired you to get down to your shop and turn something. Your comments and feedback are important to me, so leave them in the comments below. And remember, y'all stay safe. Come on back, you hear?